Let's make raspberry turnovers with a fresh homemade puff pastry dough and a delicious cream cheese filling with fresh raspberries. Now the absolute first thing you want to do is put your butter in the freezer for at least 30 minutes. It needs to be nice and cold enough to be grated. Then you want to make your ice water, grabbing a bowl with water and putting ice in it, and then set that aside. Now to start making the puff pastry dough. Grabbing a large bowl, you're going to mix all of your dry ingredients and mix to combine, making sure it's well mixed. Then you want to grate your cold butter into the dry ingredients. Do this in increments about a quarter cup at a time, mixing all of the ingredients with each increment until all of your butter has been grated into the dry ingredients, and it'll look a little bit something like this. Pour your cold water and your cold cream into your butter and flour mixture, 2 tablespoons at a time. So adding 2 tablespoons of water, 2 tablespoons of cream, and mixing it in so that it's all nice and well combined, and repeating this process until it's fully combined and it makes into a dough. And once it starts to come together, it'll look a little bit something like this. You start to see that it gets a little bit clumpier and it starts to stick together a bit more. And at this point, you can go in directly with your hands and just mold the dough until it forms into one ball of dough, looking a little bit something like this. Grab a piece of plastic wrap and place your dough into it, pressing it down into a square, and let this chill in the refrigerator for an hour. Once the dough is chilled, lightly flour a rolling surface, lightly flouring your dough but not too much, just to make sure it doesn't stick to your surface, and roll it out into a rectangle about 1/2 inch thick. Then fold a third of it like a letter at the bottom and folding the other third on top, twisting it around so the seam is at your right side and rolling again to about 1/2 inch thick, repeating the same process. Folding a third of the bottom like a letter and the third of the top on top, turning the seam to your right side and repeating the same process again for the last time, rolling it out to about 1/2 inch thick and folding a third of the bottom and a third of the top again, rolling it out to just flatten it out a little bit, not too much. Wrap tightly in plastic wrap and chill in the refrigerator for about an hour. Then make the cream cheese filling, grabbing a medium-sized bowl and placing your softened cream cheese inside and beating it for a little bit so it's nice and creamy. Add vanilla, mix to combine. And then adding powdered sugar, ideally sifted, just to avoid clumps, and mixing it to combine slowly and gently until it's fully combined into a creamy texture. Now to assemble the puff pastry, grab half of your puff pastry dough, place on a lightly floured surface, and roll out to about 1/8 inch thick. Cut into equal rectangles. You should get between 6 and 9 rectangles. Place a tablespoon of your cream cheese filling, add 3 raspberries or more if you would like. Cut the edges equally on each side into strips like so. And wrap the raspberries and the filling in the puff pastry dough, grabbing one strip from one side and wrapping the other side of the strip on top, and repeating that process until it's fully wrapped in the puff pastry dough. Place this on a piece of parchment paper in the freezer while you do the remaining, and chill in the freezer for about 30 minutes. Once they're chilled, brush with egg wash, preheat oven to 350 degrees, and bake for 30 minutes. And there you have homemade raspberry turnovers with a delicious cream cheese filling and fresh raspberries. If you like this recipe, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.